Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our final laser Q&A of the year. It's quite a crazy time. We started these in June, and now we're in December. It's how time flies when you're having fun. And thank you for taking your time out of your busy days today. Today, I am joined by Mr. Jimmy Wakefield from the southwest of the UK, and Mr. Jonny Green, who looks after the Midlands and East Anglia.
Afternoon. How are we doing?
It's good to have you guys here. Today we're going to be doing a very special Q&A session, and it's all about productivity. So obviously December is the time when a lot of businesses, be it you're finishing up for the end of the year, or indeed it's you get the last minute rush for your Christmas gifts, and you might just want to find out some tips to how you can really maximize your time, and that's what we are here to hopefully do for you guys today. So we're going to show you some of our favorite tips. If you have any questions, please leave them in the live chat. As always, we will get to them. And generally, it doesn't have to necessarily be about productivity. It can be just about laser use or anything like that. So in the meantime, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Green. He's going to start us off with his tips, and we are ready to go. Are you ready, Jonny?
I certainly am. Thank you very much, James. Hi to everyone watching the stream. Thanks for coming along. So yeah, as James says, it's the time that everyone wants to get the most out of the lasers. So we just wanted to do a quick stream today and show a few little tips. So the first one we wanted to show you was one that our friends in Canada did a little video on the other day. Very, very useful to know. So let's have a little look and see what they do. Let's talk it through while we're on. There's our friend Don. I was on a stream with him yesterday, so hi to Don. Hopefully everyone can see that. So basically, it is a method of, when we're engraving normally, we're going side to side on the laser, and it can take a little while to fill in line by line. So what you can do is, if we go to our job control window, is we can, so we'll just pause the video there if we can. So while that's running, yeah, you can see the laser going side to side there to fill it in line by line. But what you can do instead is just fill it in as a vector line instead and just score it out. So to set that up, instead of engrave, we want to set that on our black as a cut line too. And then that will follow it through the vector path as per a normal cut. To do that, we also want to put in a little bit of an offset on the Z, just to artificially thicken the line and give you a little bit of extra line width too. So that's one method that we can utilize, and that will save a huge amount of time over a job, maybe up to 80% or more, depending on the geometry of what you're doing. So yeah, I believe Mr. Wakefield's got something he wants to show as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, Jonny. So I'm just going to get Jonny to run through us here as well, because he's with the machine. So Jonny, if you can just load up job control to start with for us.
I certainly can. Give me 2 seconds.
The little hack here I'm just going to try and run through is basically a quick print. So on the quick print, what we're going to do is bypass job control effectively. By the looks of it, we might have lost Jonny, have we?
Yes, unfortunately, it looks like Mr. Green has left. Jane, why don't you continue talking over, and when Jonny reappears, we can... oh, here we go.
All I can do is run... Oh, here it comes. You're back.
About that minor internet issue?
No problem. So if we can share that screen again, Jonny, for us, and load job
absolutely. Control. Let's have a little look. So here we go.
To try and bypass the job control setup. So normally what we do is obviously file and print, and we drop into our job queue, and then we're basically dragging the jobs across and positioning into the plate itself. So if we've got lots of jobs where we know we're always running in that top left-hand corner, or we want to be 5-10 mil from each corner, or even a specific job on the plate, what we're going to look to do is just quick print it and bypass that process. There's a little bit of setup. So once we're in job control,
let's go back to job control. There we go.
Into the options tab at the top. And in options, we've got a section called process options with a little tab called quick print. Now in there, we get a little X and Y position. So this is where the top left-hand corner of your job. So as we know in job control, you'll see the square box of our job. So we're going to minimize the job to job size. And here, the top left-hand corner of that job is going to be in a position in X and Y. So Jonny sets it here, yeah, 25mm by 25mm in from that top left-hand corner. Perfect, press OK.
No problem.
Then if we go back into CorelDRAW for us, mate.
Here we go.
From CorelDRAW here. So here we got our little job. So what we're going to do is file and print as we normally would. Now again, the first time we do this, a little bit of setup time for the first job, but it's the repetition, trying to speak here, the repeat work side of things basically is where we're going to speed up. So first time we do this, we've just got to go into our options tab and set up a quick print process.
Okay.
So clicking on that one, loads up the first part of our job control. So here we're going to click on the little quick print box at the bottom.
So once we've got all our materials and everything else set up, of course, so we've chosen
our materials that we're going to be using. We're going to run through all the power and speed settings are all going to be preset. Little quick print button at the bottom. And what we're going to do now is with that one ticked, when we go JC and then when we go print, this will automatically drop our job straight into the position of 25 by 25 on the bed that we've already preset, and we'll start the machine running straight away. So effectively what we're doing is bypassing the whole job control main screen.
Yeah, and there it goes.
And there we are, the machine's running away and off it runs. So a real quick and easy way to do it. Like I said, there's a little bit of setup behind. If you're not too sure about it, if you want to run through anything, pick up the phone, give your local sales guy a ring. All of them will know how to run this bit. Just nice little simple setup for that sort of repeat work that we're running through. Also had a little extra one on that similar sort of process is the job automation or auto position. It's called in job control.
Okay.
So again, if we go to the file and print from CorelDRAW.
Rightio. Let me just get that the laser reconnected while we're doing that. So I thought we were done with it. It's just a little bit noisy.
So we'll just run again through print.
So file and print.
Now this one just bypasses the job control job queue effectively. So what we're going to do again is set up file and print. So into the options, and then we've got auto position down the bottom. So rather than quick print, this just bypasses and puts it straight into 00 on the plate. So it saves you dragging the job back and forth from the job queue. So if you untick the quick print position,
we want to take off quick print for this, don't we?
Yes,
so
correct,
before we do, let me just get the laser reconnected.
Into that connection. So then what we're going to do is, again, when we press print now, the job, rather than dropping into a job queue like we normally would, will drop straight into that 00 position. So if you're always using 00 position for your work, it just saves a little couple of seconds here and there, but obviously a lot of seconds add up over time of every job. So
they certainly do. So shall we pop that through then?
That's it. So if we go JC, that's it.
JC, and then print.
Oh no, now as we go back into job control, our job now will automatically drop into job control, into that preset.
There we go. It's and there we go. They're at 00 on the bed. So
the top corner. So nice and easy. If you're using 00 position all the time, rather than trying to drag it across and position it all the time, or double clicking on the job queue, just a nice, quick and easy process.
Fabulous. Great tip.
And like you said, little seconds mount up especially if we're talking Christmas orders, when you've got large production runs, a few seconds every single job makes a lot of difference. Absolutely.
The quick print one will save you a lot of time with the auto positioning, especially if you're doing a lot of repeat work into those positions. Actually, while we're on this as well, there's another little tip is people are using markers. I don't know if many people use these, but again, Jonny, while you're in job control there, if you want to go into the plate setup,
we can.
And what we can do is add a little marker. So if you're using the red dot pointer a lot of the time to position things, what we can do is just put a marker on that plate. So if you're using the same position every time, what you can do is use a marker on the plate and snap to those markers individually.
So I'll just put the job in the middle there so we can see. And
so
then
perfect. And then into plate, and we go add marker to plate. And again, it's just adding an X and Y position so that we can make sure that job every time we snap a job in is always in that same start position. So there we go, 50 by 50, click OK, get the little marker. So similar to the crosshair that we use with the red dot pointer, that we can snap to any four corner or centrally.
So now when we move our cursor around, that stays in a constant position, so we can always bring our job into that same point. And if we want to get rid of that, we just select it, Control and delete, and that's gone. Also on that, we can also put a marker to the job. So if we've got our job in a particular position, we can just hit that, and wherever the job is, Just leave a little marker in the top left corner for where that wants to be.
Perfect. So it's really good for things like the rotor attachment. If we're using the same position every time, or if you've got specific objects that you're engraving in the same position every time, so they don't change physically dimensions. So we're just looking to center engrave onto a chopping board, for example, or something like that, that's always the same width and dimension. It's a nice, easy, quick position to try and lay out your artwork.
Absolutely. No, another great bit, little tidbit of information there. It's yeah, as I say, a few seconds here and there all adds up over the course of a day and a week. It's extra hours of productivity which you could be getting out of your machine.
Absolutely.
So let me, right. So next topic then, fellas.
Absolutely, Mr. Green. Do you need to share a new screen, or?
I do. Give me a little second. Okie doke. So let's pop this up here. Okie doke. Right. So what we're going to talk about now is using JobControl Cut, which is an optional module for Job Control for really optimizing cutting paths and getting the most out of the process. So is the screen up?
Yes.
Excellent. Good. Right. So here we have some artwork. Everything looks nice on that at the moment, but there might be some hidden dramas within it. So let's scroll down and take a little look. So you may well have two identical paths over the top of each other, which aren't immediately obvious. So obviously you're going to be missing out on production with having to go over it twice. It's extra time taking to do. It can also mean you're overexposing and maybe putting too much laser power in, because then you've already been through it once. All you're going to do is get back reflections and potential damage on the back of your products. Yes, it can be very difficult to detect. It's not immediately obvious, particularly if the geometry has been replicated exactly. And there might not be just like 2 copies of it. There might be 10 or 100 over the top of each other. You just don't know, just visually. So, JobControl Cut. We can detect and delete these duplicates. So just for reference, without duplicate contours removed, the processing time is 37 seconds for this particular job, so bear that in mind. This is where it is. So it's in our job queue in Job Control. We just need to right-click the job name, and then we can get into our cut software that way. So the little eyeball icon is where we can make each individual layer visible. So we just want to select all in the edit menu. Select duplicate. So this will pick up any geometry that's also replicated underneath or above it. And then it's as simple as just hitting delete on that. Save it as a new name. And there we go. Instantly, we're down to 20 seconds. So the duplicate geometry is gone without having to spend the time and effort going back to our graphics software to hunt around for any issues. Depending on what graphics software you're using, it might not be the easiest to even do this kind of editing. So it's great once it's already been processed to be able to go in there and see exactly what's happening with it.
Absolutely. And again, Jonny, as you've said, it's almost half the time saved there. Yes. So whilst that's one little job, again, if you're making a full sheet of material, just imagine what that'll save you in the long run.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And as I say, it might not just be duplicated once; it could be 5 times, 10 times, however many times. So there might be a lot of unnecessary work in there, and you might get a better-looking product at the end of it too. Because once your settings are established, you don't want to then repeat it over and over again, because then the laser's just doing more and more to your material. So you want it to get nice and cleanly, minimum work for the laser, and obviously getting the most out of the time that you got.
Absolutely.
I just jump in there and just elaborate a little bit on obviously on the Job Control Cut, taking that process out. It's nice. Sometimes it's easy to pick up if you've got 2 or 3 outline layers that are on top of each other. If you're in a graphics package,
yes.
What you find when you're importing lots of different files is that a circle, for example, could be 3, maybe even 4 sort of half circles or quarter circles to make that circle. And what you'll find is those individual cut lines can be duplicated. It might not be all 4, it might just be 1 or 2. So this is where we're really saving the time with the JobControl Cut module, is that you're not having to go through your graphics package, clicking on every single individual vector node effectively to find each one that's been duplicated.
The years of my life that have been spent looking for drawing errors in various packages where, you know, there's various levels on top of each other, the nodes don't quite connect and it doesn't see it as one continuous object. Yeah, just anything to take these kind of very time-consuming jobs out of it, it's going to pay dividends.
Absolutely, and just seeing that picture on screen there as well, a big part of JobControl Cut is reducing the nodes as well. And so on that one, you can see on the tree there is lots and lots of different nodes. So all those little black dots make up a little node, each individual cut line effectively. So using JobControl Cut, we just go into the setting options tab there where we have to edit and delete is reduce nodes as well, which will make it as simple as possible, make those cut lines a lot longer to make it as smooth as possible.
Absolutely, because each one of those little black dots is a reference point the laser's going to have to hit as it goes around. So we just want it to be a series of nice, gentle, smooth curves the laser can track around very, very quickly. Obviously, things like you know, the new Optimotion system on some of the newer models helps that immensely. And using a good graphic package like, you know, Illustrator, CorelDRAW, that will be able to export lovely, smooth curves, it's going to be a much quicker, nicer job without having to, you know, track every little one of these nodes that goes around. So I imagine maybe, you know, half that many nodes, if that, are even necessary. So we could reduce that by a significant amount.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you for that run through there, Jonny. And obviously, like we've said before, JobControl Cut is optional. So if you want to find out any more about that, get in touch with the guys, or you did our technical department, they can give you some more tips and tricks about it. Absolutely.
No, we're always happy to demonstrate it. So, you know, if you ever wanted to just pop on a quick Zoom call, a video call, or come visit us in a showroom in any of our sites, yeah, I'd be delighted to show you what it can do and see what it might be able to do for you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that one, Jonny.
No trouble.
So now we have some general tips, don't we, guys? Some just general tips and tricks that we can help make everybody's day with. So if you go onto our website, we've got a wide range of resources, indeed YouTube as well, etc. This page specifically details all the different types of productivity, or ways you can boost your productivity. So one of them is double laser power, and you can see in this example, with the lower laser power, you only get 65% finished in 29 seconds, whereas with a higher laser power, it's 100% finished within 29 seconds. And again, it's acrylic, and then you've got an example of aluminium, which I'm sure the guys, again, will tell you different materials. It'll depend on how you process it and the speeds you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, oh, sorry, go on.
No, go for it, jump in.
No, all I was going to say was, yeah, having more laser power always useful, because if you've got a powerful laser and you don't need all that power, you can always just turn it down. But a lot of the time you can turn that power into extra speed, so you can run through a job more quickly, put the same energy in less time and get a quicker job. Also, it gives you the option of cutting thicker materials too. But when we're just talking about engraving, yeah, just having more power, never a bad thing, because the ceramic lasers will have enough precision that you can just turn it down to a very, very controlled level if you need to use much less power with it. So when we're running through, like we are on the anodized aluminium there, one of the biggest changes we can make when we're processing that is we can control the DPI of the engrave. So basically, as it scans through line by line, the gap that it's leaving between each line. So if we have a bigger gap, then the laser's got less work to do. It's much quicker. If we really want to focus on quality, we can get those lines really close together and get a very, very high DPI and get a very high resolution engrave. But at the cost, it is going to take a little bit longer to do.
Absolutely. Thank you again for that one, Jonny. Flex as well is another thing that you guys, obviously we talk about quite a lot. If you don't know, like Flex is our dual source laser machine, fiber, CO2 in one. You can process mixed materials without even switching the laser source, at least manually. It's done automatically. And again, you can see loads of videos on YouTube, etc., about how easy it is. And I mean, you guys will agree, it really is just quite a special thing, isn't it?
Oh, we love it. Yeah, having the fiber laser is a great addition to your machine. Obviously, for that to be worthwhile, you need to be working with a significant quantity of metal products that you need to engrave. But if you take the time versus, say, the Cermark spray that you'd work with a CO2 laser, the time taken to prepare the material, engrave it, and then dry, it's a very, very long-winded process in comparison. So if you've got a lot of metal parts you want to mark directly, it's a really nice option to have.
Going to say, we can see on this page, which is all about productivity and metal marking, you can see the Cermark, you have to spray, then wash it off once it's actually engraved on, whereas with the fiber, you can just directly mark straight onto the laser, onto the material even. So it is a very useful...
Well, the Cermark is a great way of getting a metal mark with a CO2 only laser, but as you say, you do have to wait for it to dry, and it might take typically 5-10 minutes for it to really go off, and then you can get it in your laser in the first place. It actually works better if you use less of it, because the laser needs to sort of blast through it and fuse it onto the base material. So using less of it, it will dry more quickly, and it will give you a better result generally. But yeah, it's never going to be as quick as just bunging it in the machine and firing the fiber laser at it.
Absolutely. And speaking of putting things in the machine, now this is something, creating a template, or a jig as it's commonly called. You'll see this a lot with, again, if we're talking gifts or indeed serialization and part marking, people will have a little template where they add their pens in, or indeed, as you can see up here, pet tags. And obviously this tutorial here shows you how to create your own using different materials. However, as we saw on Instagram this morning, one of Jonny's customers has actually purchased some Lego to create a jig with. And
hiya, Tony.
and I know a lot of you will be actually thinking, is that really possible? But yes, as you can see in this tutorial here, it's a very efficient way of balancing the materials and keeping them in place.
It's a great way of doing it. I mean, Lego is actually incredibly well toleranced as an engineering component. Not that you really need it to be super tolerant for this kind of work, but it's such a nice way of doing it because it's so easy and you can just change it here and there. You know, a lot of very high-end places, like even like Formula One teams, used to do it like this before 3D printers for jigs for everything in seconds. But yeah, it's a really, really good way of holding the part steady, because all it really needs to be is just enough just to keep the part in the same position every time without it wobbling around. You don't need to clamp it or really squish it into anything.
Exactly, and of course you can have a bit of fun with it afterwards, and like the classic acrylic jig.
More Lego is never a bad thing. It's always to be encouraged. Can we just go back to your other tab quickly, James, for just a sec on the jigs? If you scroll up a little bit, that one, down a bit. Just want to see the pen jig there. So right, this pen jig. Not that our website's got any bad information on it at all. This probably isn't the ideal way of setting that job up, because the fast axis of the laser is the arm that swings back and forth. So rather than getting 5 pens in a row like that, because you can see what it's going to do, it's going to engrave them one by one as it goes down. Instead of that, you probably want to have them all in a line, whether that's just the other way around or just in a long jig like that, because then it can be zipping back and forth over all of them, staying at top speed for much, much longer, and job will probably take a third of the time, I'd say.
Absolutely. I mean, for a small production run like that, like you said, it'd be fine, but obviously the way the laser moves, you've got to optimize your productivity.
Absolutely. And pens like that, say if you chuck that in, say, Speedy 300, you might be getting 150 at least pens in one go if you fill the whole bed up. But filling the axis horizontally, you always want to do that as much as possible, just to keep the laser traversing at the high speed that it can.
Absolutely. And that's the main kind of productivity tips we have on this specific page. But we also have other ones, like I've already mentioned. There's a metal marking productivity page on our website. There's acrylic. You can download our new ebook. Shameless plug there. And we also have, like say, a lot of other resources which are available on our YouTube channels and on a number of other channels, again, like Canada do a lot. We have a lot of our own videos, and of course the guys are here. They're the ultimate resource. They're working with the lasers all the time. They know what it's about. So if you have any questions, like I say, get in touch.
Absolutely. No, always here to help and advise. Because with Trotec, we always want to be that kind of resource to you at the end of the day. We want to work with you just to make sure your laser's being as useful and profitable as you can.
Absolutely. And now I'm just going to check our live chat, guys, and see if there's any comments come in. We do have a couple of viewers watching, so it's a big hello to Sean, who's watching on Facebook.
Hi, Sean.
Also Kirsty, who was again checking us out on Facebook.
Hi, Kirsty.
It doesn't seem like we have a lot of, or any comments or questions, rather, I should say. So I guess we'll have 5 minutes just talking generally about, again, just some other ideas and tips you guys have got. And again, guys, if you've got any questions, drop in the live chat. We're here for the next few minutes. We'll get to them.
Just one there, James, actually, we haven't touched on is repeating jobs in job control. So a quick one there is just, you're doing the same artwork and you want to layer it up into fit your material things. So at the moment, what we tend to do is have the plate size and job control set to size of the machine. And then we just drag our job in and position it where we want it. What that doesn't allow us to do is obviously automate or replicate the jobs over and over and over again to fit in a smaller size of material. So what we can do actually is change that plate size and job control to match your material setting or material size. I don't know if Jonny, if you can share your screen again for us.
I was just about to, actually. I thought we can be demonstrating this as we speak.
Perfect, right.
2 seconds. Let me just grab the share.
You are live, Mr. Green.
So
Fantastic.
With jigs and things like that, and doing ultimate jobs, and what job control obviously doesn't do is to rotate the artwork and nest everything in together. However, also what we can do is have multiple jobs like we've got here. So we've got the one job, minimize the job size, is then change that plate size to actually fit our material. So we can go into plate setup here. There we go, and we can change our material. And let's just say we're going to use a 600 by 300 sheet, for example. We can change that into 600 by 300. Click OK. Which changes our plate size then into our material size. So what we can do, if we drag our job back into the job queue quickly for us, Jonny, and we right click on our job, you'll see that we have position job multiple. And what this allows us to do is multiply that job as many times as we can to fit onto that plate. So if we wanted 10 of this item or 20, or just to see how many will fit, we can put the numbers in there. Job control will automatically work out the most it can do and the most effective way of doing it. So again, as Jonny pointed out with the pen jig there, was that laying them out horizontally first and then going vertically. So actually what we've got there is says 8 jobs. So you've actually managed to fit 8 of those onto it. Nice and quickly.
10 of them.
There we go. Good maths. So a nice and quick, simple way just to multiply the same individual job if you haven't done it already in your artwork.
Excellent tip. So, yeah, the best setting, well, the best thing you can really do in order to get the most out of your job is always going to be get your settings right. So it's absolutely paramount that we're being as efficient as we can be. So if you've got a material, say that click on the right thing, Green. Okay, so if we've got a material that is, say, we're not using all of our power or all of our speed. So we want to get more out of this. So what we can always do is maybe we'll want to up the speed and just drop the power a little bit. So we'll always try and maximize the speed as much as we can. And you might get a completely equivalent result, at full speed rather than half speed and a little bit more power. So if we have to sacrifice a little bit of the power to get more out of the speed is always what we want to be optimizing.
Yeah, so generally on there, what I tell a lot of my customers is, especially when you're starting off, the general rule of thumb to play with on settings is we're working with percentages here. So your engraving, we always want to do that as quickly as possible because we're rastering over the top of the image. It's the bit that takes the time. So generally what I say is the speed, we run at 100% speed, and then we vary the power to get the output that we want on the material that we're processing. Things obviously running with things like paper and card, you're going to run at very low power. But when we're working with things like wood and we want a nice deep engrave, you might use 100% power and find yourself you're not then at not enough depth. So that's when we start slowing those speeds down. But generally our rule of thumb is we want to be running that at full speed to really get to maximize that speed out of the process. And then kind of almost go vice versa when we go cutting and you're running at 100% power and then varying that speed. And again, we want it as much power in there to be able to run that speed as quickly as possible. So we see a lot of times that people are using 20% of the power, but having to run at a setting on ours at 0.2 speed, when realistically you could be running at 100% of your power and running it at 1.52% of that speed. almost running at 10 times quicker than what you were. Really, what you need to do is try and get as much power into it in the cut and change the speeds around. And then, like you said, with the engrave, you're running at full speed and varying that power, really maximising the speed of the machine to get the product out.
Yeah, just utilising the tool that you've got in the most effective way. While we're on a similar vein, quick tip for cutting. A lot of the time, if you want your cutting to be quicker, go slower. It sounds completely perverse and backwards, but it is true. So for most cutting jobs, we're not going to be able to utilise much of the speed. Typically, we might be no more than 3% in most cases. But that will be faster than if we set it to, say, 20%, because what we'll do if you set it too high, the laser will try and follow that path, realise it may be getting a little bit out of its tolerances, so it will just hit the brakes. So it might do a little bit of a curve stop, and do a little bit more and stop, and a little bit more and stop, and just sort of jitter its way around some geometry. Whereas if we set it to, say, 1 or 2%, it'll be able to track that very, very smoothly and keep nice and under control. So I've done jobs before with things like following vector paths for engraving as well. It works there too. It's faster at 1% than it is at 10% for certain jobs. So we don't want to be utilising too much speed, so we're over accelerating, and the laser has to keep sort of stopping to get itself under control and back into tolerance. So don't overuse the speed when we're cutting or doing or following vector paths.
No, absolutely, man. That's a great tip. And the easy way to see if that's how quickly you're running, or if you're running too quickly on that exact process, is you'll see the laser head almost juddering as it goes round those vectors. And if you're finding yourself not running a nice smooth cut line, you're just running a little bit too fast. And that's a great tip, Jonny. Just slow the speeds down and
the quality too. I mean, when it stops, just to kind of rebalance itself and get ready to do its next move, you will see on the edges, you might see the little marks where it's done its little pauses. But if we can just follow it nice and smoothly, track it around, faster, better quality job, and a winner all round.
Absolutely, mate.
Brilliant tips there, guys. It's excellent. Thank you very much for contributing everything today. It doesn't look like we actually have any questions in the live chat, so I'll just...
You could ask us some if you like.
I know everything, Jonny.
Indeed, sir.
I learned from the masters. Literally just now from 2:30 till 3 o'clock. But no, thank you guys as well for tuning in today. We do actually have some more live events. This isn't our last one, although it is our last Q&A. We are taking part in the Signing Digital live event, which is on the 15th of December. We also have our... Indeed, you're doing that, aren't you, Mr. Green?
It's myself and our beloved friend and colleague, Brian Jata.
And Mr. Jata as well. You may remember him from earlier on in the year. So you're going to be demoing a laser on that. So if you want to see the laser, you can tune into that. You can find more information on their website. We also have an exclusive webinar coming up next Thursday with Hybrid Services, showing the benefits of print and cut with a laser. You can find out more about them on our website. And we also have an exciting announcement about new live events coming for January. We also will be closing for December, so stay tuned to social media for last order days, that kind of thing. Make sure you don't miss out, and make sure you're getting the information you need from these guys. They do take holidays, honestly. Doesn't feel like it. They're always here, but they do take holidays. And with that said, thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Jonny.
Thank you, Jamie. Yes, mate.
Thank you very much, guys, and see you guys in the new year. Have a great Christmas and a happy New Year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone.